all the young guys about how it's going to get faster and faster and everything changes. How real is that, and how much do you feel more comfortable going to these games later in your career from what you maybe earlier?
It's a little different. The game speeds up, the level of intensity, the level of discipline you got to have to make sure you minimize error and maximize potential. So I think we beat the young guys up over the week to understand what type of level of play we need from them and the expectation playing playoff football in Arrowhead, Giha, wherever stadium. Oh, it's not Giha? Oh, excuse me. My apologies. It's okay. Giha.
When you guys faced these guys in, I guess, November, when they left, did you think that looked like a team you might see later in the year? I know you guys think that a lot during the season, but have they surprised you with maybe what they've done to get back here?
No, actually, I had a conversation with Bob Sutton prior to the last game. You know, in the tunnel, I told him we may see you guys again in the playoff. We got a good young team. As long as they put it together, they can be very special. Leaning on with the quarterback and DP, Doug Peterson is the head coach. They got a special connection going, so they're a tough team. Got a nice defense also, so they're leading those guys in the right way.
Chris, this is in the first meeting, Frank didn't play because of his suspension. What do you think he might be able to add or provide for the rest of the pass rush, given that he just was the few guys that wasn't in the first meeting?
I mean, you look at Frank Clark's resume, what he does in the playoff, it speaks for itself. I think he's tied 5th or 6th in the playoff in sacks. He got 11. And, you know, his resume speaks for itself. We know what type of player Frank Clark is, especially in the playoffs. And we're going in expecting Frank to be Frank. Glad to have him back. Glad to have him healthy. And we're looking forward to playing the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Chris, the defensive line for you, especially with 15 and a half, matching 2018 total, but then the defensive line in total, how have they been able to help you get to that total and match that 2008 total and just evolution of that defensive line throughout the season to now?
I think it's an accumulation of the D-line room, unselfish guys, the D-line coaches, starting with Joe Cullen, assistant Terry Braden, staying with me before and after practice, me committing to wanting to be the leader, be the best, committing to improving my pass rush from last year, me committing to make sure that I put the extra work in, and it shows. It shows. I give all the credit to my D-line. Been unselfish. Some guys taking 2, 3 people at times, so I can get to one-on-one, and Spads scheming for me. It goes. It's a lot that goes into that. The success of one player, especially the players around you or the players in your room, committing to you and letting you receive whatever that may be, a specific play or them taking on over gaps. And, you know, it's a game of football, you know, unselfish guys all doing it in 111, and I'm truly appreciative for the guys I have in the room.
Chris, you're not much, obviously, an individual sack guy, especially in the playoffs when it comes to wins, but just how sweet will that first playoff sack be if you're able to get it?
I thought you was going to dodge the question. Unfortunately, I have, 10 to 11 playoff games, no sacks. That's not a huge priority, but I'm going to make sure I get one this go around just to shut you guys up.
Chris, I asked this to Juju a little bit ago, but just obviously you played in the AFC Championship game last year. What would it mean for you, given all the work that you've done, to have another chance to play in that game with a victory on Saturday?
We got to get there first. We got Jacksonville coming up. They've got a good team who is looking to come in with the expectations of winning. That team is they're a competitive group of guys looking to make their mark in this league. So we got to take care of these guys even before mentioning the AFC Championship and thinking too far ahead. Let's just handle Jacksonville and let's focus on how we're going to stop these guys.
Chris, in that game against Jacksonville in November, Colin Saunders had some big moments. From playing shoulder to shoulder with him, how far has he come in the last few years?
I mean, I think his maturity speaks for itself, his growth this year. I think a huge part of that is bringing in Joe Cullen, Terry Braden, You know, if you look at the overall defensive line from last year to this year, I see a tremendous jump in level of play from all guys, whether it's Colin Sanders, whether it's Derek Nottie, whether it's Mike Dana. And then you bring in a rookie like George Karlaftis. You know, he finished the season strong. And we harp on it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. But Colin, in particularly, we've seen it in training camp, how he was attacking, his demeanor, his level of focus, his level of domination in training camp, and it just shows on the field. You know, Colin, unfortunately for him, he didn't get to play as much last year dealing with injury in the years prior. But this year we asked Colin to take that next step in his game, and he's shown a lot of improvement, especially for coming off the bench and being able to make splash plays throughout the season for us, high caliber plays that we needed from him. I think it's been amazing just to watch him grow alone.
Chris, just how much are you looking forward to another playoff?
Listen, it's always special to play in the playoffs. Not a lot of teams are in this position, especially where we at, being fortunate enough to receive the bye. But just to be in the playoffs particularly, that margin of error is so small, and the level of intensity. I know Arrowhead fans are going to be crazy at GEHA Field. But yeah, the intensity is crazy, man. It's something that can't be explained. You actually have to feel it. You actually have to be there and see that level of the game. But it's also a pleasure to be in this because you can't take these moments for granted.
Chris, you mentioned Joe Cullen a couple times. If you could look from year to year, what's the biggest thing maybe Joe brought to the table that had the biggest impact for y'all?
I think more so is communication and level of understanding. Understanding like where this group is trying to go and where we at. Being honest is a key thing. Communication. You know, as long as you can be honest with a player, I think he'll respect you. Honesty goes a long way. You know, to be able to look a man in the eyes and tell him what you truly feel about him and where you see him going, that takes a player a long way. And the belief. You know, when you're truly honest with someone, you believe in them. And I think that brings out a level of fire that they don't even believe they have in themselves. So with Joe Cullen, what he done for this room in particularly, you look at last year, we was 29th in sacks. You look at this year, we're like number 2. And we still got the same guys. No, you know, we brought in a rookie. You know, with a rookie, you don't expect a tremendous jump first year. We brought in Carlos Dunlap. You know, it's 13 year, so we didn't expect him to go out having 10 sacks, 10 or 11 sacks. But we particularly got the same guys in the room. It's just about getting everything that those guys have out of them each day, and on Sunday let them play.
Chris, tell me about the mindset to make those splash plays, right? You've got a knack for making big plays at big times in games. When you're a pass rusher, you can't always get there, right? I mean, even 15 sacks, you rush hundreds of times during the year. How do you have yourself ready at that big moment to make the play when you really need it late in the game?
I think it's more so, it goes back to training camp. 18 play, 19 play drive for Coach Reed, getting that mentality that whether it's the 12 play, whether it's the 18 play, it's a possibility. It might be a small possibility that you can get there, but as long as you're giving your all, you can make a difference. And with me, it's like, as long as I'm able to rush the passer, I'm going to try to rush the passer and win, whether it's the first play, the last play, or the play to close the game. And especially in the fourth quarter, when everything is on the line, I get a little extra in me because I know how important it is. And I've just been fortunate, man. I've been very, very fortunate this year to get there.
Chris, just talk about how important it is to play a complete game on Saturday. Jacksonville came down from 27 points and came back and won, and you guys struggled last year in the playoffs with being down. How important is it to play full 4 quarters?
Yeah, Jacksonville shows you the resiliency last week. 17 down, right? 27, excuse me, no pun intended. 27 down. And be able to come back and win the game by 2. That speaks volumes. That speaks what type of team you're dealing with, right there. They don't quit. And coming here, we know we're going to have to play 4th quarters, maybe overtime with these guys because that's a competitive group. So looking forward to it. And hopefully we don't go down 27 to them and have to come back. Hopefully
Any
we
thoughts
can.
on Germany? We're playing in Germany next year?
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, I can't wait to get over there.
Thanks a lot, Chris.